What's up, guys? It is Modern Craftsman Monday. We are 1 week away from the International Builders Show, and we have Brek from Builders of Instagram on this week's episode. We dig into, well, a lot, but we talk a little bit about what he's been up to, his real goal with his Builders of Instagram account. I think we help unfold some of the path to that. And then we, of course, talk about the Builder Show coming up. We share a couple tips. And oddly enough, we
actually gave him our schedule.
Oh, yeah. We gave him our schedule, a couple events that we got going on. Not as many podcasts, but we are going to be more available. Well, more so on our behalf, so we're not as tired. Yeah. But we also end this podcast a little bit differently than we normally.
It's a first.
Yeah, it's definitely a first. So
you guys can come see Nick and myself talk at the same time too.
Yeah, apparently we're on the schedule for the same exact time.
I might as well show up. We're gonna crash it. You know what's crazy? I was saying about today is that, like I'm doing the Ben and Jerry's project. It's like we have 10 days to do the whole thing.
What?
And so exactly. I feel like unless you're there pumping that whole scenario, do you feel like that? Like Tyler, I've often wondered this about you. Like I know you're dealing with a lot of stuff, but I feel like if you're the only one with the motivation to get it done, and if you're not there, it all falls apart. Am I wrong?
No, I would agree with that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it's like, I feel like when there's a deadline like that, it's hard to kind of
rely on other people to just.
Yeah, and I don't know if like that pressure necessarily translates correctly to other people.
Yeah, I guess I think like the.
So you headed there after this?
No.
Oh.
But it's like no, like I've been trying to like overlap people like we do everything else. Mm-hmm. And like when you have bigger projects, they can kind of roll, and you can miss a day, and you can catch up for days, and blah blah blah. And then, like, I left, had John go over because I had a different meeting, and I get back there, and I'm like, where's the electrician? And he's like, I'll check. And he doesn't know. And I'm like, they make safed all the lighting, so there's no lighting in the place. And I have painters, reclaim guys, and tile guys there. And I'm like, how are they going to work tonight if there's no lights? I'm just like, what?
Headlamps.
Is anyone paying attention?
Jeez.
And then I had to call the guy back, and I'm like, but I'm sitting there driving away going, things just would keep rolling out past deadlines.
Right.
Without someone just going, does anyone believe in this?
Right.
Does anybody? Can I raise my hand?
I think that, because it ultimately would have gotten done. There would have been a call like, hey, there's no lights, and then someone would have got temp lights, and it would have happened, but then it would have been delayed, and it just would have continued to trickle. I think like a
small project like that, it's what we say all the time, kind of carry over from the last podcast, is like taking advantage of every minute. It's mm-hmm. like, yeah, okay, they have lights, they have to leave at 4 o'clock, everybody. Well, could I have used the extra, I don't know how many hours that day that I would have wanted when Tuesday rolls around? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, is anyone else thinking that? Or is everyone just going to go home because it's, I don't know. I was just driving away going, really? Is that what happens still to this day?
Yep.
Oh, man.
I feel like that's always what happens.
So you're going to get that done before the show?
Oh, no, they're moving in. I was told I had 2 weeks to do the project. I said yes. And then he goes, you know what? I want to be open the following Friday. And I'm like, all right, so that is less than 2 weeks. Plus, I have to bring that back a day because you guys need to move everything in. So I have to have cleaners in Wednesday. So I'm like, that's really a week and a half.
Not this Wednesday.
No, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
We started it Monday.
Yeah.
So we'll be good. We'll have cabinets get dropped on Friday. Lighting and sound gets done tomorrow. Spray for the ceiling gets done Thursday, and then we can tile the floor. Reclaim goes in tomorrow, and we'll be done. So
nice quick hit.
Yeah, it's not bad. It'll be really cool.
He's got multiple, right?
Yeah, we're doing a second one in February.
Cool.
That one's brand new. This one's a facelift. Honestly, the facelift is harder.
Yeah.
Moving all the freezers. I'm getting paid in straight ice cream.
No.
They gave me
chunky cookie and ice cream diet.
3 pints. Dude, did you see the repost?
Yeah, dude, there were so many people that reached out talking about chunky cookies, and then I got probably, I don't know, a half a dozen coffee. This guy wrote me a novel, and I apologize, I've not read it yet. By the time he hears this podcast, I'll have read it.
You'll have read it, yeah.
But it was literally a novel on from starting with which whole beans, how long they can sit on the shelf for, when to grind them, and then he started talking about water, and I was like, I gotta come back to this because I really want to know how to have really good coffee at home, but I can't.
Well, the kid from California, not from California, Canada is sending, he said, a crap load of coffee to you guys. So it's going to come to the Modern Craftsman email website. No, mailbox.
Oh, that's what you were talking about.
So he's mailing it all over.
Oh my
to
gosh.
us. So hopefully I have that in a couple weeks. I'll bring it in because I don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee?
No caffeine.
Did you not listen to last episode?
No, the last one I listened to was the Kukin Brothers one.
That's a good one.
How'd that event go?
Wait, Cape Cod or Kukin? Kukin was.
Or was it Cape Cod?
Cape Cod, yeah.
I thought it was Kukin.
That was.
It's been that long
previous
since
year.
he's listened.
I was gonna say that was a couple of years ago, bro.
That was the previous year.
It was really good.
You're off, man.
It was. We asked right when we left if it was a success for them, and it was. And I think overall, I think the turnout was really great. All the vendors felt as though they talked to the amount of people that they wanted to talk to. We had a great crowd. The conversation was great. Talked to a lot of people after, and we got kicked out.
Not gonna lie to you, I feel like that was one of, not taking anything away from the other events, but we may have perfected it at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
I was actually just gonna say that I felt like listening to this year's versus last year's, and any and all the conversations at all these events around the skilled trades thing that's probably been the most progressive one, because people were like actually considering taking charge of their businesses and like doing something about it versus, hey, we have this problem, like
right.
So does everybody else.
I think
new conversation.
I think we gotta give a little credit to Tyler there because he immediately was like, listen, we're not gonna wait to the end for questions. Mm-hmm. Let's make this a conversation. And that everyone kind of like propped up in their seat and they're like, all right, I got questions. And it makes people feel involved in the conversation versus just being muted by what everybody's saying up there.
Or in the hopes that we're going to hit that topic that they're thinking about. It squashed it, meaning they could just raise their hand and jump right in the convo. And that's like how the podcast is.
Right.
So it was, I loved it.
It was really good. So, Brek.
What up, man?
How
do you guys want to do this?
We're already doing it, man.
Yeah, this is it. We're live.
We're already doing it.
We're recording.
No, I like the format of the conversation versus trying to fabricate it.
Yeah, we're not not going to fabricate this. No, but we're a big fan of yours and what you stand for. And we want to hit a lot of topics today. But I think, one of the first things is Builders of Instagram, because I think that's what kind of put you on the map as far as like in this industry for me. I'm not speaking for these guys, but what about before that?
Dude, before that, like the core has always been, I grew up in construction. Like, I mean, my bio everywhere is grew up breathing dirt on a construction site. Cause I was like, how I got to hang out with my dad on the weekend I would go scrap job sites with him when I was like 5 years old.
Yep.
And then eventually I got the promotions to sweeping and then scrapping the dump truck and then taping. He was a drywall contractor, so I did that. Sheetrock killed me because it was definitely a shoulder workout. But that's where it all started for me, man. When I was like 5 years old, just want to hang out with my dad on the weekends. And so, I mean, it started, I would sweep those houses so fucking perfect too. Like, I remember that. Like, he would always be like, all right, come on, we got to get the jobs done. Like you can sweep a little bit faster. I was like, I want to make sure like I can eat off this. But that's pretty much where it started for me was growing up with my dad, who's a drywall contractor, and then worked with him pretty much throughout my entire life up until college. Kind of bought into the whole, I'm going to be a doctor or whatever, and went off to med school that first year. And dude, I quickly realized that was not for me. I was like, this is definitely the wrong
what part
path.
of it?
I don't know, man. Like, I think it was kind of just because it felt like the right thing to do. Like, during high school, there was no shop class. Like, there was nothing. I think maybe my class or 2 years above me, that was like my brother, he had shop class when he was growing up, and we didn't have any access to that. It was like all the STEM, go to college, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And so that was kind of like ingrained from like a pretty young age. And so I just kind of like followed what everybody else was telling you to do. And then I moved to San Diego, studied pre-med, and dude, I struggled. And I was like, this is not the path I'm supposed to be on. And I quickly realized that. I finished out the year. And then I pretty much moved back to Washington State, where I grew up in Spokane, went to Washington State and started studying finance. I liked it, but I don't know. Being a kid growing up on a job site, dude, I would like ask my dad to bring home scrap wood, or I would go with him to get scrap wood, and I would just build forts in the backyard.
Right.
Where I was really into paintballing at that time, and I'd build some badass forts so I could demolish my friends on the weekend. But like, dude, that's where it started. I just liked building things. Everything that I got, from cars to toys, I would take apart, try to make them better. And, you know, that's actually been pretty fundamental over the last 3 years with the Builders of Insta thing is, dude, my 2017 and 2018 theme of the year was build. Like that was written on my whiteboard, just build stuff. And so during my time at Washington State, when I was studying finance, that's when I really got into entrepreneurship. Pretty much everyone in my entire family is entrepreneurs. My grandpa was a logger. I rode the grader with him, fell asleep in it, drove it when I was a kid. And that's kind of where it pulled me. And when I went back to my dad's job site, without taking a finance job or a sales job, I knew that wasn't going to be a fit for me. I went back to his job site, and with like this entrepreneurial mindset and kind of just a more mature head, I started noticing like every problem on the job site, from like the way that we were hiring people to the bidding process. I was helping my dad write bid sheets, and I was like, this is absolutely chaotic. I don't even know how you do a business like this. And so during that time, I didn't know it was called workforce development at that time, but I was like, you don't really see anyone next generation or anyone talking about that. And I got an introduction. This is kind of where it all changed for me. I got an introduction to my local HBA, Home Building Association, and I met with the president there, and I asked him, hey, like, is there any workforce development issues? I don't really know what that means, but I would like to kind of like help out and see what the next generation of construction is like. The dude shows up 25 minutes late, and I'm sitting there talking to him. I'm 24 at the time, and he's crossing his arms, and then he's like starts working on the computer. I was like, this guy doesn't give a shit about anything that I say. Just like this 24-year-old kid, like, what do I know, right? And I was actually pretty pissed off when I left that meeting, and that's actually when I turned to social media and started Builders of Insta. I was like, you know what, screw it. If the associations aren't good,
he starts working on his computer, but was there any context to the conversation?
By the way, I'm often late to stuff. Okay, because
if you didn't notice, 2020 still late.
Okay, like I have like today.
I saw your story the other day.
I did it today.
And the phone call, dude.
I was like, you know what? I today I had a 12 o'clock and then a 1:30 and then a 2:30, and I was like, I was already late for my 1:30, and I was like, the guy texted me, he's like, you still coming? I'm like, I'm gonna be there in 30 minutes. That's my goal. But I go, my client, I had a paint selection meeting. Dude, yeah, I struggle with those paint selections.
Yeah, why were you in that meeting?
Time too.
What?
Why were you in the meeting?
I run that meeting. I don't, when there's no designer and they don't want to buy one, then I still do it. So I bring in like remember, what was it? It used to be Chantilly lace. Remember that was my color? Now we've gone to Snow White. So I start with Snow White, and I have other panels, like let's say it's cabinet colors. I have like the last 10 cabinet colors that we've done for samples. I bring those in because that's usually where the trends are going. Okay. In a small bubble, and I bring those in, and we have a little tile. So it's not like I'm really facilitating it. I'm just trying to make notes of what's happening and saying, hey, like this is the photo we're using for the scheme for this room. Okay. Which colors work well? But I'm not good at like hey, we have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. Do you do that with people? Clients? Sorry.
No.
I'll do that with like.
But I usually leave myself a better buffer.
Dude, there's no buffers for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing an hour from start to meeting to next start of meeting, like you're already screwed. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I have a coffee meeting tomorrow at 9, and I'm like, all right, my next
coffee meeting.
with an interior designer that wants to work together.
That's impossible.
So we get coffee.
Already? I had someone call me the other day, and I'm
Well,
like,
no, we've already chatted.
Send me the website.
No, and we've already. I mean, what? This is Brek. What was the context of the conversation?
It was the HBA president being late, and then Johnny's like, "I'm
No,
always
I
late."
know, I know that.
Maybe that
I mean,
guy was late from a color meeting.
Yeah, so all right, you can't be mad at him for being late. But what, like,
Did he apologize?
You're talking to him. He's working on the computer? You give the spiel and what?
Yeah, I was basically just trying to figure out like what opportunities they have to get involved with like workforce development, kind of like how they were approaching the issue. I just wanted to go into the conversation, meet with this guy and say like, how are you guys trying to solve this trade skills gap?
Right.
Because I hear it on my dad's site every day. It's at the dinner table.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you guys doing for it? And dude, honestly, I can't even remember the entire conversation, but the thing was the dude was checked out.
Yeah.
And so that's when it kind of gave me that idea that maybe it was going to be up to the next generation or just the individuals in the industry that actually wanted to solve it. And so that was pretty much the context of the meeting. And again, you know, I felt like that 24-year-old going in saying like, hey, I have really high ambitions for the industry. Like, let's go change stuff.
Right.
Hoorah, you know? And the guy didn't budge. And actually that was some pretty good motivation for the first year of Builders of Insta. So
I'm taking total offense to this entire conversation.
Why?
What's
I'm
that?
taking offense to this entire conversation for some reason.
Why is
like,
that?
There was a guy from IG that stopped by the job site on Sunday when I went and hit Boston to grab some sticks of trim. And I'm with the wife. And I didn't stop doing what I went to the job site for the entire time until at the end when I shook his hand.
Yeah, but did you cross your arms and have a piss poor attitude?
No, but I don't know if that's
what I'm getting.
Is that what
I mean, if his arms are crossed and he's sitting there staring and he
Well, if I was a passionate guy like myself and I was stuck in a trailer behind a desk, my point is that like a lot of times when people come in to a meeting when I haven't met them before,
yeah,
I will continue with
sure,
what it is that I'm doing because you haven't. What's the word I'm going to use here without offending people? You haven't spurred my interest enough to devote more than what I'm giving you.
I get that. Here's some more context. Well, the introduction to the guy at the HBA, the president, he was a former president of one of the largest general contracting companies in my hometown. And so it was a warm introduction. It wasn't just like, hey, who's this kid showing up? That's how I felt. Maybe I took it the wrong way, but regardless of the way that I took it, it was a big motivator for me to even do Builders of Insta.
That's cool.
Because it was like, I was like, if I can do it, like, I don't need help doing this.
So where'd that come from?
What?
Builders of Insta. Like, did you see Contractors of Insta and like tile bathrooms of Insta, and you were like, you know what? Let's do Builders of Insta. How'd that shake out?
So I did see Contractors of Insta first. I'm not going to lie about that. My big thing was I came from a family of builders, and the kitchens of.
I know. That wasn't my point. It wasn't my point.
Yeah. But like, no, I get that, and but yeah, I did see them first. But me coming from like a home building family and everything, my goal was to change the perception for the building industry. As stupid as that sounds, like that's actually what my big mission was.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You should probably go to.
That was a core.
You should have more of those meetings because if all this came out of one meeting with a crappy builder, you should go to more of those. You'll change the world, brother.
It's led to some better ones now that actually Builders of Insta is a thing. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of like a big motivation for me. Pretty much after I started that, I really knew that it wasn't going to take building associations or these other massive moonshot plays in the industry to really change anything. Like when I got on Instagram, I saw you guys, and that was actually a big motivating piece for me, is because when I came on there, I was like, these guys are young. They build really cool stuff. I was working on cool stuff with my dad, but these are some pretty badass projects. I've never seen these before. And it kind of like changed my perception of outdated industry, boring, working on the same monotonous sites, to, all right, there's some young hustlers here. I can actually see myself in their shoes. And then while I was doing the Builders of Insta thing, I was like, I believe that more people should see this. And so, dude, I went to ridiculous lengths to find builders. Like I remember going through their websites, taking their images, reposting on Builders of Insta. I would credit them, and then I would wait for them to come on Instagram, and then I would tag their username. I would tag all their team members. I'd edit their photos to make them look better. Like I was just obsessed with the building industry, and that's when I was like, you know, maybe like if I can make a little bit of a difference. Dude, this was when I had like 5,000 to 10,000 followers. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, yeah, this seems cool. Just gonna start this up and see where it goes. But that whole time, I don't know, something told me to keep doing it. I was sleeping couches at the time, and every time I was like on the page, I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, and are you still in school at this time? No, you're gone. You're out of school, right?
No, I was out.
And
I was out.
What were you doing for work?
What's that?
Were you like? Where were you working at this time?
My dad's company, drywall business.
So you were working during the day, and then kind of building the Instagram, just like kind of like a personal blog, right? Just like in your free time.
Pretty much, yeah.
But in that early stage, you had this strategy of collecting quality photographs, quality work, and promoting it on their behalf.
Yeah, yep. That's exactly how it was. And then as it started to grow, people would like reach out and DM and want to get shout out and everything, credit their teams. And then that's really when I started the whole like Builders of Insta hashtag and everything, because I just couldn't handle the amount of people that were emailing them in. And so that's where that started. And it just kind of evolved from there. It's like showcasing the teams and then just putting together a better positive message. And from the beginning, when I saw it get traction, I was like, all right, maybe this is an opportunity for me to like build a platform so that we can actually voice people for the industry. Because I kind of just like felt like that with like the building associations. Maybe I had the wrong impression. But I kind of felt like it was they were the gatekeepers, really. And you fast forward 3 years now, and like, look, you have the podcast, you're reaching people. I don't know how many people you guys reach, but I know for a fact it's a lot.
5 to 10. 5 to 10 people every week.
That's more than one, man. And so, I mean, just look at it evolve over the last 3 years. Is like it's developed into person-to-person contact, and it's sure as hell made the industry a lot better already. And I really think we're on the point of like a breakthrough for the industry.
So your initial kind of approach to all this just evolved into what you're doing now. Well, that wasn't your initial goal.
No, I was like, my thing was I just saw these people on Instagram. I kind of wanted to get involved. They changed my perception. I just kept posting photos. I didn't really know what I was doing, but like by all means, I had no idea what I was doing. And then it kind of just evolved. And then that's where I kind of like saw the initiative that I wanted to build behind the brand and like actually stand up for people in construction. So that's kind of where it evolved for me. I mean, we were on a call the other day with Kyle, the one that Johnny was late to, but we were on a call with Kyle from RR Buildings, and I mean, he said it best, and we'll talk about the panel that we're going to do at IBS later, but he said it best. He was like, none of us really started out on Instagram to just grow these audiences. It just happened that we had a message to share and people want to follow it. It's just, it's funny because all of us have come back to the same core belief, is that we just want to positively shape construction and build each other up. That's the reason why we're all doing this. And so, I mean, it was kind of a cool reflection when we were on the phone call the other day with Kyle, and he said that, because that kind of goes back to the core of what I was doing 3 years ago. So I had an ambition to start changing
3 years ago,
I'm bummed I missed that call.
Did you miss it completely?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got to recap.
So you just gave him credit for being late to it. He didn't,
I didn't even make it.
He didn't even make it.
There's the update, man.
You breezed over a comment about sleeping on the couch or sleeping on couches. Was that while you were working for your dad? And why does that play in context?
Sheetrock. Why not get into business?
What's that, John?
Sorry, he's going at the couch.
Are you still working with your dad?
No, not anymore. So what happened was,
not you.
To Nick's question, the whole couch surfing thing and everything. During that time, I was helping my dad's business. I was helping him write up bid sheets, and we were looking at the emails and everything from the GCs, and I just noticed how broken it was. And so that's when I kind of got curious about actually solving that. And so I went out and built a job board for the construction industry in this bidding platform. Needless to say, I hired the wrong engineers, spent about 7 months doing that. I sold my car, pretty much sold everything. And I had to fire the engineers because we just couldn't deliver on the project. And so that's kind of when it went back to the parents' basement. I'm sitting there left with Builders of Insta. I'm looking at my options. I'm like, dude, I don't have anything. I don't have any money. Work for my dad still. Got this Instagram page with like 5,000 followers. And so I don't know what it was at that time, but I just kind of had a calling to kind of dive into Builders of Insta and see what was there. And that's kind of what really started off for me, is I really had like no other option, but I just knew I wanted to be in the construction industry. I wanted to contribute to workforce development before I even knew what that meant. And that's where it started for me. And then did that, started building Builders of Insta for about 6 months. And then I was trying to move out to Seattle, and I met these 2 real estate developers at this tech event.
Hold on. Why were you trying to move to Seattle?
I was trying to move to Seattle because that job board and bidding site was Hammer back in the day, and I wanted another shot at building that. Okay. And so I was trying to move out to Seattle, and I met this guy that was running a real estate tech company called City Builder. And I showed him my Instagram stuff. I told him about my previous failure and everything. And he was pretty interested in what I was doing. And so he's like, I'll give you the opportunity. I'll move you out to Seattle, but you got to sleep on my office couch for the first month. And I was like, I have no idea who you are, man. And vetted him out. And I was like, screw it. I got no other option to move to Seattle. I don't have any money to move. I can't afford Seattle rent. And so I just took the leap of faith, slept on this guy's couch for the first month, was still building Builders of Insta, and then still didn't have any money. But after the first month, he's like, I gave you the first month. I'll be your mentor and everything, but you got to like find a different place to sleep because I'm running a company in here and you can't sleep on the couch forever. Like, all right. So I started couch surfing at my friends' houses for the next 3 months. And then once Builders of Insta got to 50 to 60,000 followers, James Hardy came to me, and I knew exactly who James Hardy was. And they wanted to do a little marketing campaign. By this time, I have no money in the bank. I'm sick of couch surfing. I'm drinking like Soylents because I don't want to pay for food. And that's when I took the marketing camp with James Hardy. And that pretty much got me at that time, like, I don't know, a few months of rent in Seattle. I went and signed a 12-month lease. Didn't have 12 months of rent in the bank. And that's when I kind of started monetizing Builders of Insta so I could have another shot to actually build Hammer, to get myself an apartment, and to pretty much start back into workforce development. So I had a major setback with hiring the wrong engineers, sleeping on the couches.
Sure.
Like, dude, I posted on Builders of Insta, I don't know, a couple of days ago. I wasn't even sure I really wanted to do this, but I was like, screw it, man. I might as well tell the story. But pretty much Builders of Insta, a fourth of it was from sleeping on an air mattress and sleeping on couches. Brad Levitt was my first phone call. He gave me 15 minutes. And I'll remember this call like it was...
Hold on. Before the phone call, how did you get the 15 minutes? Like a DM?
I just DM'd him.
And he said, you have 15 minutes?
Yeah,
time
he's like, hey,
now.
I got 15. Yeah, it's time starts now.
You better start dialing.
I was like, whatever, man. Like, you're doing some awesome stuff. And so I wanted to connect with him. But I was sending some DMs out to people. Like, hey, I got 15 minutes today. Like, give me a call or whatever. And so I called him and I told him, like, what I was doing, my ambitions with Builders of Insta. And it really gave me, like, a taste that there was other people that were just as passionate about me, about solving this whole problem and, like, the next generation and everything. And so Brad has been, like, so fundamental to, like, everything that I've done. From the point that I was, like, sleeping on couches, I would text Brad. Like, the dude just gave me so much inspiration to actually just keep building it. And it's pretty cool that you have people like that in the Instagram community that are so willing to take those phone calls with just younger people or just people that want to make a difference in the industry. Because 2 years later, after that phone call, I mean, Builders Vincent has turned into something. And so I took that phone call with Brad, and after
what was your goal with that call?
What was my goal with that call?
Like, what were you were gonna pitch him this idea, but what were you hoping to get out of it?
Honestly, I think just the way that Brad conducts himself in business, I think it was just mainly curiosity. Like, I wanted to connect with this guy and see what he was all about.
You wanted his opinion
just because,
on it.
Yeah, I think it was more than that. Like, I wanted to know, like, what he thought about, like, this whole next generation thing, the skilled trades, and like where we were going as an industry. Like, you guys talk to Brad a lot. He conducts his business very well. He's like, what is he, 38? Hopefully that's a compliment, Brad.
I don't know.
But he's a young guy, and he inspires a lot of younger people to actually get involved with the industry. And so, yeah, it was an idea, but it mainly was like curiosity to even see like what you guys were up to. I mean, I remember watching you guys 3 years ago, and I was always like curious of like, what are they like, you know? And so it was basic curiosity to see like what it's like to kind of have this audience on Instagram, to run this construction company that's not the typical older people that you see running companies. And so
the inspiration and the driving force behind building the following of Builders of Insta, what was, it was just to shed light, right? Like the premise was to shed light on the industry, to eventually help workforce development, but also to help fund Hammer in a way.
Yeah, it was to fund Hammer in a way, but it was also actually feed me. Like during that time, dude, I remember like 2 years ago, it was like this company called Heidegate reached out to me, and I had like $200 in my bank account. I was so over couch surfing. It was like fourth month into it, and I'm eating this like shitty salad at this pizza place, and I was like, I gotta land a deal. And I just remember my whole goal was, in the beginning, was just to like feed myself so I could actually like continue working on this. Like that was the only goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I could actually like fund myself and get myself out of the couch surfing, that's when I was like, all right, let's get back into like the workforce development. Let's start funding Hammer. Let's start accessing resources, and let's keep building Builders of Insta. And so, but the initial goal, it was to fund Hammer, but it turned into the method of like survival.
But why not just get a job? Like, I don't know why. I don't know why this seems like a crazy thing, but like you could have just started hanging board for your dad, not move, or.
Well, I could have, but I had the no, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, but during that time, I saw the opportunity to move to Seattle for Hammer. It didn't turn out that I was like initially moving there for that. And so that's when I saw the opportunity to build Builders of Insta. And to be quite frank, moving home, to me, that was me failing. Like that was the biggest thing. When I left home, I was like, I told my family, I was like, if I move back, that means I failed. And I remember saying that. And so, I mean, yeah, I could have went and got the job and everything, but I don't know. Something was telling me to keep building Builders of Insta. The mentor that I had, he was like, work on this full time. And whether that was the right advice to take at that time, I felt like I didn't want to let anybody else down. And so I just kept building Builders of Insta. I had some deals come in through Builders of Insta after a couple months, and actually like funded me to, eat and get an apartment and to keep working on what I started initially working on.
What did your day look like?
What did my day look like?
If your sole focus, this guy's telling you
you're on the couch.
Yeah, are you literally sitting on the couch all day scanning through photos and just trying to connect with builders? Like, I'm just curious. Like, that's what to Johnny's point. It's like, yeah. Well, you could have a job and do that. So what was, besides your own persistence not to have a job and commit to something? I mean, serious, like to really commit and say, this is what I believe in it. I'm gonna put everything I have into it. But like, so what was your day? Was it just dusk till dawn? Grinding through trying to build it as fast as you could?
So during that time, I was actually going out and recruiting people for the company. And so that was like the majority of my day is going to all these events, recruiting, trying to find the engineers to build it again. And then during that time, I was actually just reaching out to builders and helping them build their social media. And so they were like the smaller clients, but they weren't like paying the bills yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually going out to builders, helping them build their social media presences, pushing them through Builders of Insta. And so it turned all to like social media marketing for them. But it wasn't enough to like fund me. I quickly realized that. And then the opportunity and the timing just came right, that James Hardy and some brands after that kind of stumbled in. And then that's when I actually realized what I could do with Builders of Insta. And then I went full time into monetizing that way.
What was the first deal with James Hardy? Like what was the campaign?
They just came and wanted to push their Hardy board. They just wanted a 3-month partnership.
Mm-hmm.
They asked how many builders we had in the audience. So I went and put all that in Excel sheets and like told them exactly how many builders and contractors were in our audience. And then that's when I kind of learned how to like calculate the cost per 1,000 impressions or whatever. And that's when I started the marketing campaign with them.
So were you posting homes with their product on it, or?
Yeah, I did homes with their product.
And you would talk, and it was just 3 months of that kind of consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you were doing similar deals with other brands.
Yeah, or they would send me their content from their website that they had the rights to, and then we would just push that through.
Did your dad ever think that you'd work for him full time, or you take over the business?
That was never really a conversation, to be honest.
I'm curious at this point, what's your workforce development look like? As you said that was like your main priority and what you were looking to do and what you kind of wanted to give back and sort out the skills labor gap. Like, what's that look like for you now in your own life and through Builders of Instagram? Is there like, other than just what you're posting, kind of how's that manifesting itself through what you're doing?
Yeah. So over probably the last 6 months is actually when it's actually started to click. That's in getting involved with the organizations again, because they are doing a lot of the workforce development. So it's kind of come full circle, I think, in a better format. But getting involved with the associations, doing our Builders of Insta meetup, raising money for skilled trades, trade schools. Iowa Skilled Trades was there last year. They'll be here this year. We're raising money for those organizations, for the Builders of Insta, and then actually building Hammer again. So we do have a team for that, and that's more of a professional network, an application for the industry. So everything's kind of come full circle. It was a big detour. Maybe probably should have gotten a full-time job like Johnny was saying. I probably should have done that. But there's a lot of things that I learned during that process. And so.
Yeah, I think being in a position where you're in survival mode can teach you a lot, but also in a way, I feel, I wonder, like, looking back, did you ever take a deal because you needed the food over actually believing in it?
Yeah, I did once.
That's
and I felt like a sellout too.
Yeah.
It was my very first deal. I won't name the client because I don't want them to know that I felt this way. I did my best and I overshot their expectations, but during that whole time, dude, I felt like a sellout. And I was like, dude, this is not why I started in any of this. It was not to like monetize a page. And, my thing from day one, I mean, maybe you guys have read it from the captions over the last couple of years, but it's always been, this is more than an Instagram page. That's always how it's been.
So,
and I know maybe it's a big detour, but.
So earlier you said that, now it's become something. Mm-hmm. So what in your mind, what has it become?
I feel like it's become a platform to actually voice the industry initiatives, and that's how I want to position it. I mean, coming up, doing our IBS, our meetup and everything, it's not about me, man. It's about everybody else. It's getting everybody together, enabling voices to be heard, initiatives to be seen. That's really how I'm leveraging the Builders of Insta, is mainly industry initiatives. And so that's how I wanted to position it. It's how I wanted to position it since day one. And that's where we're going with it.
I know I just texted you guys with a topic, but you did do this video series. I saw it on Insta. Can you break that down?
Yeah, Beyond the Build?
Yeah.
So I started that because I wanted to differentiate Builders of Insta from a lot of the other pages out there. Really kind of to break away from the noise. I also did it selfishly because I actually miss being on site. Like, straight up. Like, I miss the loud banging. I miss all the dirtiness of it. Like, I like that stuff. And, I texted Brad. I was like, hey, I don't really have the money to fund all this, but maybe if we could like collaborate, fly down there, do a video with you guys in AFT, highlight you, what you're doing. Maybe this could actually seed a video series. And so that was kind of the main thing about that is, okay, we're doing all the content on Instagram. It's mainly just photos, but there's all these stories to be heard in construction. I mean, I DM with people every single day, and I've been doing it for the last 3 years. And I've connected with people on a personal level. And there's stories in construction, but I don't really feel like people are presenting in the right way. There's a ton of people doing awesome things, but still there's a lot of white space. I mean, like, do you guys know who Aaron Witt is with BuildWitt? BuildWitt Media. He's doing an awesome job highlighting like the mining industry and the heavy equipment. And I chatted with him and I was like, hey man, like this has been something that I've like wanted to do for like the building industry. And, I just kind of took the leap of faith with Brad and to get back on site again.
So is it
actually start?
So is the goal to keep that going? Like, do you have other deals or other builders that you're going to be continuing to highlight, or was that kind of it?
I have a couple other builders that I want to do that with. It's not necessarily like the building science, kind of like the Risinger or anything like that, but mine's just mainly telling the stories of the teams in the industry. To be honest, dude, I'm still figuring it out. I don't have an answer for that.
But. So switching over to Hammer, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so we're building a professional network for the construction industry.
It's going to be a wise ass.
You?
Yeah. You swing it.
What?
You swing it.
Yeah, what's a hammer?
It puts nails into...
Hammer, H-A-M-M-R. I had to take the E out, man. The E that domain was going to cost $285,000. So
wow.
I had to take out that E.
NIB, not in budget.
Yeah, not in the budget. Not on a couch surfing budget, man. But yeah, so we're building that. Mainly that's for really how we're wanting to position that is for the next generation to come in and see the opportunities that the construction industry has to offer. I feel like there's like a really, like the whole Instagram world, I think it's really great, but I don't really think that we have the tools to really drive the industry forward for the next generation to say, okay, these are the companies that I could work for. These are the people and the teams that I could work with. These are the supers and the foremans that I get to work with on a daily basis. I was talking to a guy the other day, and the big thing that he was talking about is he's going out and searching for all these construction companies. He doesn't know if they have benefits, the projects that they're going to work on, the people he's going to work with. And so you just have like a really big space and like for the people coming into the industry to say, I don't know what kind of construction company that I even want to work at or the people that I would work with. And so how do you really move an industry forward when a bunch of people don't really have access to those resources?
So, I'm going to try to simplify this in my mind. Is it like LinkedIn and Glassdoor and kind of all these career-driven platforms, but specifically for construction?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And so what, I think the hard question that I think a lot of people ask is, well, why not just use LinkedIn? And why not just pop on Glassdoor and find out if they have benefits and what the average salary is? Like what, I guess what's Hammer going to offer that they cannot?
A big thing for LinkedIn versus kind of like what we're doing is the construction industry is on a per project basis. And so it's like the projects that you get to work on, people are going to go to a company because they get to work on cool stuff, right? especially for like the commercial world, is like, hey, we built the new Warriors Stadium. And it really matters which projects you get to work on. It's not necessarily, construction is not like, okay, I just worked at this career for 3 years, you're qualified. It comes down to what projects have you worked on, the people that you worked with, and the company that you've worked at. It's not necessarily like this employment-based industry. Yes, you're employed, but it's not.
Yeah, you're saying it's like you can be a carpenter for 6 years, but what does that mean? Will you hang in sheetrock?
Exactly.
Just because you've done something for X amount of time doesn't mean that you're good at the aspects. It's like you said, per project. It's like, what projects have you completed?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what's driving behind that, hammer.
Correct. Yeah. That's why I've focused so much too on like the Builders of Insta and highlighting the projects to kind of like streamline that and merge the two.
So that's very different than what Hammer originally started at, right? You said it was for bidding.
Yeah.
And what?
I didn't really.
Good.
Go ahead.
No, good.
I didn't really think that the whole bidding thing was really going to solve a lot of the problems that we were experiencing as an industry. I mean, there's a lot of companies already out there solving it, and I just felt like there was too much noise to actually even go into that space. I thought it was really crowded, and so I actually backed out. I was like, I really don't think that my passion here is to solve the bidding and the miscommunications of construction.
Sure.
And it's like, I want to get into the next generation and the labor shortage and the trade skills gap. Because from my point of view, is like, I'm 27, I grew up on site, like that's what I live and breathe.
Sure.
And so I want to play to the narrative that I'm actually living. And so the whole bidding platform and building that site was kind of like hard for me to actually have that narrative and embody. And so that's really where the whole workforce and the next generation thing came, because it was like, I'm living and breathing that.
So you're building a platform for all of us, but now you mentioned that you talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, and you've connected with a lot of people. And, for us, that's something that that's why we started the podcast. But I think that's a big reason why this will be your second year at IBS putting together the meetup, right? Mm-hmm. Is that, I'm assuming that was the driving force, because all these people that you were talking to, it was like, here's an opportunity to be in one room with them. What was the...
Well, last year he showed his face for the first time.
That was so weird for me, dude.
That was the first time?
Yeah, it was the first time. I remember day before.
You know what's going on?
I'm trying to keep
when this
up.
kid DM'd me the first time or whatever about posting something, I was like, I don't even know who you are. Like, tell me.
Yeah, he was like, get out of here.
I was like, no, I didn't. I was like, tell me what you're about. Because I was worried that it was going to be like Contractors of Insta, where it's like, I'm going to create an app, I'm going to showcase it, but now I want you to use the app, and that's the only people that use the app will get posted on his page. And I was like, all right, well, if that's going to be the same thing, don't bother posting my stuff. And like, I want to know who it was, because I want to know if there's a face behind it, or if it's just some Russians. I don't know.
So I'm looking at your page now, like scrolling through, and there's a ton of like gorgeous homes inside, outside, and then you have a fair amount of vendors that I guess are like whoever you're having these campaigns with. And I guess I'm trying to sort out like where, other than a couple meetups here and there, where this is giving back to everyone. Like, is there a way to take a portion of proceeds or a portion of these campaigns and put that directly towards something for the industry? Because I keep hearing you say this is such a passion for you to kind of help the next generation and the skills labor gap, and that there's so many issues within the industry. But like, I'm just having trouble connecting the dots, because what I'm hearing and like what I'm seeing, it like there's a meetup or two, but it like, I don't feel like seeing this is bridging the skills labor gap or workforce development and actually what's going on. It like, I'm having trouble seeing that correlation based on your page. And if that is the case, and it's like, I want to help, or I want to help the younger generation, or I want to create a platform to help these kids why it doesn't seem like that's happening unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, a lot of people are missing something because the majority of the time I'm hanging out in direct messages and messaging people about all of these issues. Like the pretty photos and everything on Builders of Insta, to be honest, that's just turned into a machine to maintain the audience and highlight the builders, to be totally honest. But it's like just over the last 4 months, I've been actually able to get my head above water. Like have enough money to where we're doing these campaigns and I can actually start looking back into like putting money into these trade funds, the skilled labor fund and everything like that. And so while I would love to like be coming on the podcast and saying like, hey, we're doing all these campaigns, like I want to throw money, blah, 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 and all these, I'm barely even in a position to do that. Dude, I told you guys right when I came on, like I'm doing this podcast in my bedroom. My nightstand is still 2 Amazon boxes taped together. Like I'm barely in a position to do any of this. But it's like I'm trying to build Builders of Insta so that I can be in a position to actually do that with it. Builders of Insta has been built so that we have an audience to actually enable us to even do that. And the stories to be heard. Just the marketing campaigns that I'm doing now, it's just got me above water in the last couple months. And these are my ambitions to actually do that.
But why aren't you starting that conversation with them now? So it's not like, here's the product, here's the house that it's on. Why, like, if that's the main driving factor for Builders of Instagram and Hammer and everything else, like, why isn't that built around that? It's almost like you're building a platform and then you're saying you're going to switch gears once you hit a certain, like, monetary value, where I feel like if to create that authentic account where you really want to push to help the industry, that would be a huge part of your account right now. Because, like, I don't know, I'm just looking through it and that nothing in here is speaking to me about the state of the industry or like helping the next generation or helping kids or connecting kids. Like there's nothing in your account that resonates or speaks to that to me. So that's just going to change all of a sudden. I'm having trouble understanding that. And again, I could be missing something, but it just doesn't, like, I feel like to create an account, if that's your end goal, it should be built with that in mind. And that should be a consistent growth and a consistent path that you're looking to get to, not like, hey, I'm going to get enough money in the bank and then I'm going to change over to this.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Well,
my main thing is
I'm going to interrupt you for a second because to second what Tyler was saying, but the comment you made is that, you said that a lot of people are missing something, and it's that you spend a lot of your time hanging out in DMs and talking to people about the issues, and I assume in efforts to help them, whether it's help coach them through, mentor them, or just talk about it and bring awareness to it. But the problem is, and this is exactly why we started a podcast, it's that's doing it one person at a time when there's literally millions of people. So, you're selling, I'm going to dumb it down, you're selling ad space on the face of the page and being a mentor behind the scenes. And I think what Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, is like the disconnect is that you're leveraging the face of it for the financial gain, which is personal, but also hopefully, long term, like you talked about the foundations, but you're doing that to build an audience and gain traction. But all of the hard work and the nuts and bolts and what is actually considered helpful to the industry is all behind the scenes, and just no one has access to it.
I think that if you look at everyone's about monetizing whatever they're doing, whether it's fine home building, whether it's this old house, whether it's DIY, HGTV, whatever accounts are out there. But they're at least talking about that. And I feel like if you have 192,000 followers and your goal is to create a difference within the industry, that's what you should be talking about, not just campaigning with pictures of the houses and everything else. Or if that's what you want to do, it just seems like what you're saying and what you're doing aren't necessarily meshing or lining up. And I could be completely missing the correlation between the two. But personally, I feel like if that's your goal, there should be a conversation around that. Or you should be like screaming from the rooftops, this is what I want to do. And it's almost like this is the first time I'm hearing this is what you want to do and this is your inspiration and what you're doing everything for. But if I went on your account not knowing anything about you, I have no idea that that's even important to you.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to that is like, I've really wanted Builders of Insta to support a certain foundation. And to be totally honest, like if we're really going to have this conversation right now, I haven't really found one that I can really get behind.
And what,
you know, on or off the record, I saw the Keep Craft Alive thing 3 years ago, and I was really backing that. Like the whole hashtag thing, like I just loved everything they were doing. It's how I stumbled upon you guys, but I didn't know if it was like going anywhere. Like we keep talking about it as an industry, but it's like, all right, where's like the vehicle to move forward? And it's like, what's next? Like, is it just to keep raising money for trade schools? And I get that. That's important. I believe in that 100%. But it was like even Jamie from Verdura Construction, he said it best. He said it a lot better than I could. But it's like, we back all these things, but it's like, are we the actually ones putting in the effort and doing them? And so, Tyler, to your point, like, dude, I totally agree. When people pop onto the page, they don't see that. But it's like, what has made me feel like I'm contributing is like the one-on-one conversations with people that I'm having. And so by all means, that could sound like total bullshit, but my goal is not to convince you guys, is to tell you that like I'm doing my best to transition Builders of Insta into building this initiative for whoever we support and pushing the message of the next generation.
Yeah, listen, I
just really haven't found like how to do that yet. You know what I mean?
And
other than just starting to do it. But.
Right. And don't take this as like, it's not a personal attack by any of us. And we're not looking for you to convince us. Like, this isn't about.
Don't take things personal. Yeah. we went over this last podcast.
But this isn't, I think the biggest thing here, like, not to convince, but to help, it's oftentimes that what we put out for content or whatever in our business, we see it as one way because we're seeing the behind the scenes. We're seeing the one-on-one conversation. You're seeing the one-on-one conversations, and you're using your front page as leverage for ad space and to gain traction with awareness to inevitably, like Tyler said, like one day you might switch and then your entire, there isn't a campaign anymore, and this is all about, bringing the skills, shrinking the skills gap. But I think, the having the audit of someone else looking at it and trying to compare it to what you're saying, that's where it's, there's good information there.
It's very similar to what you said a couple months ago, Nick, where everyone that kept calling you wanted to do like built-ins and want to do small products, and you were like, why am I getting these calls? And then you were like, if I look at my page from that 1,000-foot view, it's all these detailed images.
Yeah.
So that is what people are taking away.
That's a fantastic point. I had the conversation today, and it was literally, we were on the phone auditing my web. I had someone auditing my website.
Must be nice.
Must be.
I'm working on my. Forget it.
I absolutely hate that saying.
So do I, but I love you.
I'm going to tell my wife to listen to this because she knows how much I hate when people say that.
Don't do that.
No, but it was. I needed someone's opinion on it, and that's exactly right. Like John said, it's we want to build and we want to build homes and renovate full homes. We don't want to. I shouldn't say we don't want to, but we don't want our focus to be the small projects. And when
they were micro projects. Like the calls you were getting were like, "Why would you call me?"
Yeah, it's like, "Hey, I need, I was wondering if you could install a vanity." I was like, I mean, I could, but that's not who we are. Like, why are we being portrayed as someone that you would call to install a vanity? But like John said, it's the way we were portraying ourselves on our website, on social media. there was all this heavy focus on like the micro details, the small things. Oh my God, like look at this vanity that we built, not relating it back to the fact that it's part of a full home run.
Yeah, pull it back.
And that's, you know, I think making that.
I do it a lot with my wife. Like whenever I, like my point is like, hey, did I get this right? Like, did I take a look at this from, don't look at it on my computer. Like, don't lead the witness. What do you think of this? Like when I did like the New Year's card, I was like, is this, would you want to, I love all the photos, but I'm not the right person to ask. I'm like, take a look at this and what do you get? It's the same as we don't put ads in, but we've talked about this before of like what people are putting in for ads. It's like, what are they trending towards? Like, is that the work that they want? Is that the work that they make the most money at? What is it? So I think to speak to that, it's like, it's the same thing I just did on my IG is that like, yeah, my personal IG has been kind of kicked more towards the behind the scenes of the projects, and then vintage with some finished products are now turning into more of a finished page. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to dump the content back in of being personable, and that people want to get us involved in the project. So that's why I started putting those videos back out that we did with Puff like 2 years ago. And I was like, these are phenomenal videos. Why have I, like some of them I hadn't even posted yet. And I was like, I need to get those out. And the feedback you get is amazing. Like people, like the last one I did about my salary, so many people hit me up and was like, hey, didn't know you walked away from something like that. And then other people were like, how do I even come close to making that kind of money if I'm in this business? Is it my market? And like I have to sit down and try and dive into those. So I get how you can get lost in the DMs. The only thing to speak to Tyler's point is I don't know how you can speak to it with I have a hard time answering a lot of these questions because I'm like, I don't know if what works for me works for you. And for you to be able to get people into the industry and knowing people, I just find it very difficult for you to be able to field that and volley it back to them where they can then use that. So you get me?
Yeah.
Well, it's also, I mean, it's also the fact that it's like if you came on here and said, I built Builders of Instagram to sell ad space and make a lot of money, it would, you know, outside looking in, that makes sense, right? But you're like what you're backing is that you want to do this for the greater good of the industry, and and again, to keep rehashing that's the disconnect. It's like you definitely want to do something great for the industry, and you're building all this platform and then this social, then Hammer and all these things that can possibly really help the industry. You know, the Beyond the Build, the video series of highlighting builders, all these things could help the industry, but right now it's hard to make that personal connection, to hit it where it's like I watched Beyond the Build and that video just saved me. Like that's, you know, we get messages, like crazy messages, because we talk about this and we hash this stuff. Basically, this is like us having a big DM and then posting it for the 5 to 10 people that listen. And, you know, and then one of those people reaching out and be like, hey, I listened to this week's.
I needed that.
Yeah. Like I was in a bad spot, or, you know, we keep talking about the guy that fired someone. It's like,
so they did DM us back and say, I forget what they said. I'm gonna butcher it, but they were like, he didn't have a family, so there was no worries, like kids, so there was no worries about presents. Like he did DM me back. I meant to say that in a past.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Just doesn't have
Johnny,
heat this winter.
John, I have a question, kind of going back to your thing of this, kind of like, it's going to bring up another topic, but you were talking about how, you know, your personal page and then vintage, one is more finished, one is actually speaks a little bit more towards the industry, the rough, the behind the scenes. How have you been able to like transition from getting back into the behind the scenes and posting your like personal story through like vintage and everything? Because the reason why I bring that up is because that's actually something that I've kind of struggled to, because I think especially in Instagram, everybody's thinking about positioning. And dude, I think about positioning all the time. Like you want your brand to speak in a certain way. Obviously I need to improve that. So I appreciate the one takeaway thing that I can learn from coming on the podcast and everything. But it's like, forget the positioning on Instagram. Like, how are you like, the reason why I'm asking this is because I'm trying to figure out, like, you're using the personal page. Like, how have you been able to, like, transition the message? Because everybody's like, and even me, like, I'm worried about, like, screwing up our content. You know, it's like the vanity metrics and everything.
You're
And
thinking way too much about it.
I mean, there's no bullshit here, dude.
Yeah.
I spend zero time worrying about that.
I mean, I worry about like photos that I look at to see, all right, how much shrapnel am I going to take for this photo?
Right.
But for the most part,
the
like my
metrics
stories,
it's like there's like I don't look at the insights. I just, it's like, this is who we are. Like, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. Like Tyler, like I'm probably a little bit more censored the way I speak because it is a professional page, but it's still like I'm not looking at it from this. You know, this photo might do bad. It's like, this is just who we are today.
It's not like I'm going to put this photo on there because this is my next client's going to want this. Like,
I think that when you start looking into all of the metrics and the engagement that you're getting, there's reasons for doing that, and I don't necessarily know if they're always the most genuine or sincere reasons. Like, if, for example, I don't know if I know how to get to the insight page on my phone.
That's good.
And that, I mean, I'm just not that technically savvy, but I think that the content that we create, or even the modern craftsman content that we create, we're not putting it out there to land sponsorships or to get ad money. It's like, what's going to speak to the most amount of volume? Because my insights, or the insights on the modern craftsman page, they're not necessarily indicative of the market that we're trying to hit for our reasons for hitting that. Like, if I have 60,000 followers, there's a handful of followers that I'm really trying to speak to, and the insights are almost irrelevant at that point, unless we were trying to hit a certain market or we're trying to land, you know, ad space or something like that. I don't think that positioning yourself necessarily leads you to the most authentic content. Like, I think that protecting your brand or representing your brand in a certain way is very important, and keeping that consistency. But if you're so heavily considering how you're positioning yourself and keeping content and metrics and when you're posting and all of that stuff, I don't know. It's like, for what reason? How is that really helping the big picture, the industry as a whole? Like, the skills gap, how's that helping the next generation based on your content? And I don't necessarily think it is. Like, it would be pushing this meetup that you have at IBS down everyone's throat, because, like, hey, I'm going to send this to this person, and then I'm going to post about it, and then I'm going to tag this person, and then they're going to repost it, and then I'm going to make sure that Boral reposts it 1,000 times, because it's not even about the money, and it's not about who's going to sponsor it and who's going to give you money towards it, but it's about getting as many people there to spread the word as possible. And I think when that's the reason why you're doing this, it will be very transparent and everyone will be able to see that. And I don't think that that's necessarily directly related to the metrics.
I absolutely agree. I think the biggest thing for you is to tell your story. And I mean, that's what I do every day, is I just tell the story. Even if somebody wanted to know, if I got 10 DMs about foundation work, if I'm not doing a foundation at the time, that's not going to go into one of my stories. It's really what's happening day to day on the jobs in my life that I story about or post about. It's like, hey, I passed this inspection. Dude, I'm so pumped. It's what's on my mind. And the amount of time that we have in a day between family, work, this stuff, and to carve out an amount of time to post for both accounts that I do, I wouldn't have enough time to really dig into it that well.
And I don't know how to transition or to kind of, I'm like, even my account, it's so much of what's me. And yeah, there is some censor there. I'm not going to speak the way that I speak every day in person. So I am, like, there is some, it's censored to a certain extent, but like, I wouldn't know how to take like a highly professional account or one that didn't have much of a personality there and then bring that personality into it. I think that would be very tough to do, because it's like now you're trying to curate content based on ad budget and ad space, but then now you're trying to bring a personal spin into it, which vendors may not want, or, you know, advertisers may not want. And I think that it's really hard to kind of take something like that and then put your personal touch on it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, because like even going back to last year with IBS, that was the first time, like Johnny said at the beginning of the podcast, that was the first time I showed my face. And like, to be honest, it was like the weirdest thing, because it was like, okay, I built Builders of Insta for everybody else. Like I really didn't want myself to be like a part of the equation, but like sitting with you guys here, it's like, you know, I want to be a part of the narrative moving forward. And right now it's just going through that time of like, okay, how do I best like tell the story without like, because the thing is like I've tried to like separate myself from the Builders of Insta, because it's never been about me.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be about you. And I don't want this to be an Instagram advice podcast, but like, you know, John's point about your story, and John's, you know, obviously he's got the advantage of being on site every day. You do not. But if you're constantly connecting with other builders and sharing their story, whether it's through a post, I mean, there's a story there. The story of connecting with them, connecting with that builder, why you reached out to them, what their story actually is, what are they doing to advocate for the next generation, and talk about that. And now there's like there's so much more there than just the fact that, no offense, but James Hardy's siding on the side of the house. Look how beautiful this house is. And you worrying about screwing up your metrics or the brand or the image of the page, that it shouldn't matter, because what should matter is the fact that you're now getting that story out,
the authentic
all
story,
the way through, from why you found that, how you found that photo, why you found that photo, and why you're sharing it. Like that's just my take on it. I think, you know, Tyler's absolutely right. The metrics are going to skew your what you're delivering, and it's based on the fact that you're getting more impressions. It's like, you know, you have, I think Tyler said 190,000 followers. There's probably a good portion of them that would be super excited to see that shift and more in-depth story.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when I first started, like, just crediting the builders, there wasn't a ton of builders on Instagram when I first started. And so my goal was just to bring more awareness to them. And like to Tyler's point, like that transition and everything, like I'm currently, obviously you can tell through recording this and everything, that's like going through a period with Builders of Insta where it's like, all right, like this is like the next evolution of what it should be for the industry. Like, I've told myself for the last 2 months, finishing up this partnership with Boral, who's helping sponsor the event, this is going to be the last partnership that I do. And that's not some BS. Mm-hmm. Like I've told myself that. I'm like, hey, after this, I'm done, because it's gotten me to a place where I have an apartment, put food in the mouth and everything. And it's like, this is never why I got into it. And this is actually the message that I want to spread. And so it's like, now I'm actually looking at like, hey, how can I better evolve the message that I'm trying to send through the Instagram? And it's like, I'm currently like directly in the middle of that.
I think that a lot of the vendors and partnerships would be completely open to that narrative as well, if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because now it's not just product placement or product pitch, but there's a voice and a story behind it, which you look at like any commercial where they're trying to tug at the heartstrings or anything else, and like they're trying to tell that narrative, and there's a very true, open, honest, credible narrative to be told within our industry. And I'm sure that we have vendors that we work with who are wanting to tell that story as well, and you can be that conduit for them.
But even more, we fall in love with companies and vendors that have a clean like story about where they are and who they are. Like Marvin, absolutely love them for their personality as people. Like if you're a family member and you're not in the company, you're out. Like they didn't think about that and how it would play out with people. They just told you that part of it. Like I love to know more about them personally, and it makes me fall in love with that company. Like they don't go, hey, it's not about the Marvin name as the family. It's about the people. We get that. But we also know that someone needs to run it. Like we know that Christine Marvin's running the company. We know it's not just her, but it's all the people that are involved. So I wouldn't get hung up on, I don't want to show my face and all that stuff. We get it. Just make the impact and then sit back.
So let's talk about your event that's in Vegas, because you have money going towards a couple of good causes for that. And at least continue to get the word out for what you're doing, for your sponsors and everything with that, but also for the potential of 1, 2, 3, a dozen young kids who come in and see the group and the following. My internet's kicking out. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
For the handful of kids that show up and it changes their life, or they decide to make a career change, or they decide to go 110% into this industry because they come to your meetup and they see the community and the camaraderie and the support and the potential.
Yeah. So just kind of like it was last year, having the meetup in the outdoor show village. It was a really cool moment for me last year when I first met you guys at like the Top Golf and the Builders of Insta meetup. Was I actually got to meet you guys in person. We're not doing anything like crazy this year. It's going to be directly just about the people showing up and networking. We're going to have people doing giveaways, and then we're going to have some raffles to raise some money for skilled trades. And so that's on Tuesday, 3 p.m. in the Outdoor Show Village, January 21st. So that's going to be the Builders of Insta meetup. And so pretty casual. Bring the shirts and the stickers, kind of like what we did last year.
You have to sign up for it?
Yeah, we did the Eventbrite thing just so we could kind of get a little head count of who's showing up. But yeah, that link is in the Builders of Insta bio and everything. Yeah, profile.
It's a free event, right?
Yeah, it's a free event.
So what are the ways you guys are raising the money for the foundations?
So kind of like what we did last year with the raffling off, and then just saying how much money we can collect at the event. I think last year we didn't do anything like insane. I think we did like 3,000 and just put that towards the skilled labor fund.
And that was strictly through the raffle?
Yeah.
And then all the sponsors and everything, that's covering the cost for the event, right?
Yeah. For the beer and everything like that. Yeah.
I would love to see some trade schools there.
I know.
Just saying.
Iowa Skilled Trades, Brandon Patterson, he'll be there repping Iowa Skilled Trades. So
yeah, but there's gotta be some kids at this show.
Yeah. And we got some younger guys coming out from Instagram.
I wonder if you could tap into the student chapter of NAHB and get them to. You should.
Yeah.
Because all those kids are on Instagram.
Yeah, young professionals and 40 under 40. Johnny, are you into that?
I'm on the bubble.
Those guys have extended invites to come to the Builders of Insta meetup too. So professional builder who runs that sent out those invites to those younger guys.
But even that's like the guys that are just in the trade now, like getting into the trade. But I mean, if there are student chapters going, because they have student chapter events, like where college and I think high school. I don't know about high school. But definitely college. They go out there. So I mean, if you could talk, I'm giving you advice. If
you're listening and you know anybody that's a part of the groups, pass the word along to be at this event, because I think you should also maybe make people raise their hand at the event if you're a student or a younger,
that'd be cool.
Younger professional. That way, people can recognize that, and then it will help with that kind of communication on who's available, who's younger, who's looking for their next career path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
What else do you have planned out in Vegas?
And then before that, actually, we have the IBS panel that we're doing. Johnny will be on that. But that's Tuesday, January 21st. It's an education session. That's 12:45 to 1:45. The title is The Power of Social Media, a chat with industry's top influencers, but kind of going back to
Dang, John.
I'm writing down what time it is because I didn't know what time it was.
Dude, don't miss that.
He missed the call.
I did miss the call.
But mainly the topic of that is going to be we all got here because of Instagram, and this is how we're leveraging it to, build a new narrative for the construction industry. So it's going to be less about the whole, hey, how to grow your following and hacking the Instagram algorithm. I really believe, and I'm sure you guys do.
I won't be able to answer any of those questions.
If anybody is really looking to start on Instagram, that's kind of late for that conversation.
Yeah, so who else is on that panel?
So it's you, Kyle with RR Buildings, Sarah Bendrick with Sarita Landscape Design, and then I believe Natasha from Tradeswomen of IG will also be joining us for that.
Nice.
Should be.
That should be a fun event.
And what else? Anything else on the personal?
I had a bunch of
calendar
people who were asking. Well, I guess not a bunch. People just asking what's going on out in Vegas, like what to see, what they shouldn't miss.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those.
Yeah. So, what I really liked about IBS last year is I kind of made a list of the 40 people that I wanted to meet, and I did everything to go and meet and shake their hands. So anybody that's pretty much new to the Instagram space, I would definitely get your list together and make an effort to go out and meet the people.
Who's on your list this year to meet?
You two.
We already met.
Yeah, man.
Who's my list?
We can call them out. They're probably listening.
Yeah.
Probably not.
He's blushing.
Should we call one?
No, we're not going to actually call them. They're just going to wait.
I'm just messing around, man.
There's a couple other events.
Actually,
right?
Andrew with Patterson Custom Homes.
Yeah.
That's actually my dad's favorite builder. I'm actually super excited to meet Andrew.
Nice. Huber's got that social media awards.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
find the date.
Best of Social, and then Keep Craft Alive is Wednesday. I believe.
Yeah, Wednesday night.
Right.
Wednesday night?
Yeah.
So the Keep Craft, and that's at the Hard Rock Hotel, I believe.
Same spot as last year.
Same spot as last year.
That one you do need to register for.
For the Keep Craft Alive, yeah.
Yeah, and you need that money goes towards
the Keep Craft Alive Foundation.
Yes.
Yes.
Not just to pay for the event.
And then Huber's got the social media awards. Johnny's digging it up. So we'll have a little dead space.
Keep talking.
Where is it?
Seriously, 3rd annual Best of Social.
Best of Social. You had most complicated roof last year, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know why I got that.
Well, I got.
It looked cool.
I got most likely to succeed.
Yeah, but let's just be honest. That should have
succeeded.
gone to a framer that framed it.
I wasn't gonna say that, but
Everyone else did.
hey, you can hang it on the shelf.
Yeah, that is Wednesday, January 22nd, 3:30 at their booth.
Dang, so we got to go from Huber, or Hubert, as you call it.
I stopped.
Right to Fine Home Buildings event.
Yes.
Because Fine Home Buildings at 5 something, right?
I think so, yeah.
Dang.
And that, the Huber booth. Jesus. You did it.
We should get one of those suitcases with motors on it so we can ride it over.
C3325. C3325 is their booth. And honestly, look that up ahead of time. Because if you haven't been to this show,
Oh my gosh.
you need to be prepared on how far. We've screwed up the first year.
Yeah.
And we went across this place 7 different ways.
Here's a pro tip.
Yeah, but
Don't.
was that in Orlando?
That was
Yeah, it
Orlando.
was Orlando.
I feel like it's worse in Orlando.
Don't. Pro tip: do not follow me.
Yeah.
I thought you said no new shoes and get inner soles.
Ever. Oh yeah, don't wear new shoes. We talked about that last year. And then Tyler and myself are talking separately at the Geldwin booth.
Separately.
I'll post those times later.
Well, Tyler posted his. It is January 21st at 11:30 to 12.
And the 22nd.
And the 22nd, 11:30 to 12. And that is booth C5230.
Wait a sec. Are we talking at the same time?
I don't think so, man.
I'm the 21st, 11:30 to 12. And the 23rd, 9:30 to 10. Well, we can hang out. And I know Build a Trend's going to have they're doing a bunch of live podcasts as well as a Build a Trend influencer meetup.
I will not be on that.
Come on. 4 to 6 p.m. on the 22nd at Build a Trend's booth.
What day? Sorry. Say it again.
Build a Trend influencer meetup, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Build a Trend booth. And then they're doing a couple podcasts. And I'm actually on a panel discussion too.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the schedule down.
I know.
I'm writing
we're
all
doing
this
the
down.
schedule and telling you guys what we're going to be doing. Build a Trend panel discussion 9:15, 10:15 on the 21st. So either way, I'm super excited.
And then we'll probably be doing a podcast at the Market booth.
Duh.
We are shaking that detail out, and we're hoping that it will be a lot like the Cape Cod Lumber event. Where,
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of good feedback with that.
and
so.
we really liked it.
Yeah.
Personally.
I'm hoping we can. I said it at Cape Cod Lumber. I wanted to get up and walk around a lot, but I never did.
But I don't think we had to.
I
think the one thing we need to work on is repeating the questions.
Yeah.
Puff gave us some.
Either that or everyone just has a microphone on.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
Boom, mic.
Boom.
Up
mic.
the budget. Boom, mic.
Well, either way, this will be on Monday, so it'll be a week away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's frightening me.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well,
Nick, when
That's
did
come
you
so
confirm
fast.
your times?
I
I don't think you ever did.
did. We'll talk about this off air. January 21st through the 24th, Las Vegas.
I'm looking up my emails now.
Las Vegas Convention Center. We'll see you at the International Builders Show. Super excited. But, and generally speaking, last year we did like 6 or 7 podcasts. This year we're taking a breather with podcast so we can spend more time networking with vendors.
And you.
And Brek. So we can kick them into shape.
And sleep some.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. We'll still be at the youth event up on the stage, me and Tyler dancing, getting everyone riled up. The best was the next day.
I remember that.
Brek, we're doing our last podcast the day after that. It's the last one of the event, and then we're out of there.
That was Huber.
And at Huber, and we're sitting there, and this girl walks by and was like, "Are those the guys that were on stage last night?" And I just
They didn't say guys. They were like, that was the guy that was on stage last night.
Oh, I was
exactly what
looping
we said.
Tyler, and we're like
I ended
live.
up
We're
on the
live on the
speakers last
podcast, like over the speakers.
And Nick was like, yeah, this guy. 2 thumbs right at him.
Nick, is it you who sent me the screenshot of what's his name from like Northern California
Yes.
with the glasses
They're-
on,
they
who
were-
was basically the image that they posted for
Yes.
the party this year?
That was Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is the on the promotional
Jesus,
material.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I know.
Sam.
Yeah.
But honestly, guys, it's keep an eye on social media because there'll be more events and more meetups at booths that happen. But also, more importantly, there's every vendor you're ever looking for will be at this event. And the Kitchen and Bath, K-Biz, is also a great spot to hit. So
There's word that Kohler stepped it up this year, which is
I don't know how it's possible.
right. It's just wild.
this is like the Super Bowl for vendors.
That was nuts last year.
Kohler is apparently supposed to be even crazier. But don't be afraid to stop and say hello and ask, or introduce yourself to these vendors and people. This is what this event is for. Don't miss the event, the meetups and the events, because there are a ton of people here and there for the same reason you are, and that is, I believe, the networking and the opportunity to learn even just one thing. So
Yeah, I mean, I love going to it. And then I remember Benny went last year for the first time, and he was like blown away.
yeah,
He was just like, I got to talk to so many people that I DM or whatever, and meeting somebody face to face.
he was on stage with us too.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, he
He
was.
loved it.
Yeah, he
What?
had that gray blazer.
Yeah, with the V-neck.
V-neck,
Yeah,
the deep V.
The deep V.
And then it was snowing outside. But my point is that like we left that energized to like go conquer whatever bill was coming, or
Yeah.
pour more time into social media.
It's a
from
great
little-
start to the year.
Yeah, it really is. So worth going to. Book your hotel, flights, all that stuff. It's totally worth it. Everyone's been asking where we're staying. It doesn't really matter, guys, because there's not the commuter rail. What's it
The
called?
monorail,
The
but
monorail.
try to get a hotel near the monorail.
Yeah.
That makes your life a lot
You
easier.
can pop in
Yeah.
on that. And you can
Driving
just
or
go.
Ubering is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So
Any other tips a week?
I don't know.
Also, for the people that don't have an expo pass already, I knew some people were kind of hesitant to purchase that. 84 Lumber, and then I believe Gelled Wen actually sent out
Yep.
links to free expo passes. So
Thanks for reminding me. I
I'll
got to
post some of
get
the-
Ken and Nick's.
I should get Benny's. Good call.
Yeah. All right.
I'll put
That's
that-
what we're going to
put
do.
that on my list.
Well, Brek, I hope you you don't feel too battered and bruised.
No, man. This is the process of evolving what we're trying to do. And so, again, I just really appreciate everyone that's actually supported Builders of Insta, the people that I've actually made relationships, direct messaging. You guys for bringing me on the podcast and everything.
Well, dude, I said it in the beginning. I mean, we appreciate your initiative, and we know that there's a lot that goes into it. And the goal of this conversation is just to help kind of hopefully unfold that and unravel what you're trying to accomplish, because it's something that pairs in line with what we're trying to accomplish, and that is industry wide. So anything we can do to work collaboratively is obviously what we're intending to do.
Yeah, like the last words too, kind of like what you guys were saying, for any of the vendors or trade schools that want to get involved. I want to open the doors for Builders of Insta to be extremely receptive to that conversation, so we can actually start to see the opportunities to back the people driving these initiatives forward. So I probably want to end on that note of Builders of Insta looking for those opportunities to actually get involved and really start driving the narrative forward.
Well, we appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Guess we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Less than
2
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
Or 1 week from the time everyone
Yeah, I
hears
know.
this.
It's like news to me.
Jeez. All right, man. Have a good night.
Hey, kill the recording. Hold on.
Oh, I love the end of this one.
Off the script.
All right, so we're back online. Not sure what we're going to do with that, but we're going to get right into our outro. We'll see you guys in Vegas. We have a question up on board here, and of course, we're going to read one of the reviews. I'll start with a review while John cues up the question. I appreciate what we get a lot of y'alls, are doing for the industry. I commute 2.5 hours every Monday and look forward to listening every week. This past episode is one of my favorites, just talking about the real issues I've been dealing with for years, thinking I'm the only one. Me and my subs lean on each other for advice, but listening to y'all, had really been a pleasure. Thanks for being my therapist, Corey Giddens. I don't mean to laugh at the y'all. I'm not good at it.
I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah. And no reviews about this, but we got a ton of chunky cookie tags, and apparently coffee coming to us from all over the country that is better than the stuff I'm drinking at home. So appreciate that review. We got a question?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to hit this one, but
All right, well,
hey guys, huge fan. We are a general contracting firm that will be building our first new house this spring. Well, congrats.
I'm out.
I was
You
wondering.
guys can answer this.
I was wondering if you guys have done a podcast talking about your first builds. I would love to hear your stories. Thanks in advance.
We have not, and that's actually we should. Going back to like our first project.
Our first project.
Yeah. Like maybe we do it in different parts, like the first project, and then like your first build or your first
I
big
can remember
project.
the first project I ever did.
So
On my own or as
on
in the
your own.
industry? Yeah, on my own. It was a basement in Melrose, Mass.
Mine was a 10 by 12 shed
Attaboy.
for Mrs. Smith, my art teacher. I still have a photo of it.
Mine was replacing a full house of interior doors, into the existing jams.
Oh my, that's terrible.
Yeah. Dude, but I got so good at doors. Like,
You
first
have
job off
doors.
the bat, it's just like,
It's like number
but I
47.
like teed it off, and I'm like completely comfortable with doors and old houses and fitting them into old openings and everything else.
That sounds like a nightmare to me right now.
Yeah.
Like-
I'm like, rip the jams out.
Exactly.
Right.
Wasn't terrible.
Oh, you're good. That's the difference. I probably wasn't as good as a carpenter in my best day on your first day.
Dude, I had a
True. I would second that.
2-door Toyota Tacoma short bed with a cap on it, and I remember like going to Depot and just loading up as many slab doors into it as I could, just like leaving the tailgate hanging down. Good old days. It's a simpler
amazing.
I
time.
used to do roofs all the time, so I had a little single cab GMC 1500, and I would be doing so many roofs on the side. that I brought into a place in Waltham, had them put 3,500 leaf springs on the back, because I would literally get 2 pallets of roofing, drive on the rims, and be like, I'm gonna make it. Like, I got this. Like,
I did the same thing with my pickup truck. I like put all new suspension on it because I couldn't afford a new truck. But like, I was trying to do, it was a 4-cylinder truck. I was towing a trailer, like a 6x10 single axle trailer at one point. It's just like, I don't really have other options.
I was like, I'm not driving back to pick up more material. And I would probably be picking it up on a Friday, so it was closed on a Saturday. So I was like, this is all I got, and I'm gonna make it work.
Funny, I had a Chevy regular cab short bed, 2-wheel drive.
I think mine is
and mine was the same. I had a 6x10 enclosed trailer, and I put 2 motors, 3 transmissions, and 2 rear ends in that truck.
Jesus.
And it was like,
he looked like the scrap guy driving by.
Huh?
He's like the scrap guy driving by.
That thing was clean though.
Of course it was. That's actually a really great question that we should
dive into that. So let's schedule that on our next trio podcast.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you guys enjoy the podcast, make sure you guys rate, review, and share.
It helps.
We'll see you guys in Vegas. I almost said, this is the Modern Craftsman.
I don't know why you edited that last time.
He edited it?
He edited it.
I never sent him my notes.
It would have been awesome.
I meant to tell him.
Because I listened. That's the only reason why I listened to the podcast. Is like, I want to hear the intro because it was hilarious when you came out with it.
I know.
And then it went the other way.
I can do it again.
No, yeah, you can if you want.